We've got the screen.
Okay, we're
Message.
recording. All right, so weight room. All right, I'm gonna admit all seven.
All right.
All right, welcome everybody as you're getting in. We're gonna get started here in a minute. There's still people joining, so bear with us for 1 minute. We'll get started at about three after.
Should have got some tunes going this morning.
Oh
Forgot
yeah,
to push play on my Spotify.
I say that for one of the classes I teach. I should do that too while we're waiting
Yeah.
for everybody to get in.
Next topic, we'll have a little DJ in the background
Yep.
here.
All right, it's been a minute since somebody's wanted to come in, so we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us today. We're glad that you could um, make it here. And as many of you might be aware, you recently might have recently received a digital badge or credential from NMU. That's how a lot of people got invited to this event overall. And today we really want to introduce a new tool that helps you actually use those credentials in a meaningful way. And that tool is Learning and Employment Record, or LER for short. But before we get into the platform, it helps to understand the bigger picture and some other initiatives that we have going on here on campus.
That's my cue.
Yeah.
Um, Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Zadroga-Langlois, Director of Continuing Education and Workforce Development here at NMU. So at NMU, we've been working on a concept that we call Evergreen. And the idea is very simple. Learning doesn't stop when you graduate or finish a class. So throughout your life and career, you're going to keep gaining new skills through courses, work experience, training programs, certifications, a lot of different ways. So Evergreen is NMU's commitment to support that kind of lifelong learning, so that people can keep building skills whenever they need them. But if learning happens over an entire career, we also need better ways to keep track of those skills and show them to employers. So that's where the Learning and Employment Record, or LER, come in.
So an LER is basically a digital record of your skills and achievements. And instead of listing courses on a transcript or the degrees that you got, it helps show the skills you've actually developed and competencies. Things like leadership, communication, project management, technical skills, and anything really that you show that you're competent and have a competency in. It brings together the badges and credentials you've earned and turns them into something you can easily share when applying for jobs, promotions, or new opportunities. And the badges that you can put in the LER from all are from all platforms. So it's not just badges that you earn from NMU, it's badges and credentials that you have earned from um, pretty much anywhere. So you can think of Evergreen as a lifelong learning journey, and this LER tool, it helps you capture and show what you've learned along the way.
So I think now I'm going to introduce Tanya Gardino. She is an HR and workplace marketing expert who helps decode how hiring actually works so people and organizations can better communicate their value. She's worked with startups from day one to over $100 million in growth, helping them to clearly communicate their value and turn opportunities into real results. Tanya is the founder of the Conquer Company, co-founder of Skills Scoop, and a contributor to The Assist, where she writes about career growth, hiring trends, and workplace dynamics. Her work spans education, workforce innovation, and technology, where she specializes in positioning, storytelling, and building brands that actually resonate. She's constantly in conversation with employers, hiring managers, and candidates, giving her a real-time view into what companies are actually paying attention to and where strong candidates often can get overlooked. Today, she's going to break down how to better communicate your skills, understand what employers are really looking for, and position your experience in a way that gets taken seriously. Tanya?
Yay! I'm so excited to be with you guys. Nice to meet all of you. For those of you who are with us on the recording live, I encourage you to drop any questions into the chat as we'll be monitoring that. If you're catching this as a recording, then I'm excited for you to have taken the time in your busy day to be a part of this. If you're on the live call, feel free to have your camera on or off. I love seeing your facial reactions. So if you're willing to have your camera on, great. If not, I'm happy to talk into my computer and know that you are actively listening while you're probably, I don't know, commuting in the car, doing whatever you're doing. So I'm excited to be here with you in a digital format. So today, what we're going to be learning about and talking about is how resumes are evolving, what recruiters are really kind of scanning for as they're taking a look at your resume, how you can turn your NMU learning into skills that employers recognize and care about. And then we'll get into the juice of this, which is the AI prompts that are going to create a real personalized output, not the AI slop that you may be used to, or maybe you haven't even dove into AI yet, so you don't even know the sloppy parts of it, which is great because you're starting on a clean slate here. And then we'll get into a preview of something that your university has put together for you, which is really, really cool. It's called NMU My Skills. And we kind of touched on that briefly with LERs, and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper for you towards the end of this. But basically, my goal here is for you to leave with the tools to create a resume that sounds like you, is showing proof, and makes recruiters actually want to book an interview with you. So, with that, let's talk about what a modern resume looks like. So today we're really looking at a modern resume that includes both like a paper PDF version and a digital resume. So that paper resume is that PDF document that a hiring manager might print and send to the hiring, excuse me, it's an HR person who might print your resume and then hand it off to the hiring manager to kind of interview you and take notes while they're on the phone with you, right? Like people still like that paper PDF document, and that paper document is going to communicate your role fit in under 10 seconds, right? So every bullet point should carry a result. It's not just about your tasks, but really what is the thing that you did. And then the digital resume is something that Brad and Stephanie touched on, but it's a shareable, updatable, trustworthy living profile that really lets recruiters verify your credentials. It's exploring projects. They're able to see badges and learning records in real time. So they each are serving different parts of the hiring market. One is a little bit more old school, but still very relevant to today. And the digital resume is the future of hiring that we're going to talk about a bit today. So what are recruiters actually looking for when they see your resume in the first like 10 seconds? So there's 5 things that I want to highlight towards. The first is they're looking at job titles or focus. They're quickly scanning to see whether your resume aligns with the roles that they're looking for. And if the focus isn't obvious, they're going to think like, oh, you're not a good fit. So, for example, I'm a recent graduate seeking opportunities. Like, okay, well, so is everyone and, their sister in the same age group. What you're really looking for is to be more explicit with it. So you're a marketing analyst who's data driven and has campaign strategy. The next thing is they're looking for hard skills that are matching the job posting. A lot of the time, recruiters don't necessarily know everything about the job, but they know that the hiring manager told them to look for specific keywords. So they're scanning to match for those skills, and they're looking at software, your technical skills. And if those things aren't visible, then they might just be like, oh, they don't know that they're not a good fit. So some examples of that are specific software and skills. The next thing they're looking for is numbers that prove that you actually did something, right? So what are the results that are showcasing the skills? Like, I'm a marketer. I know how to do social media, but if I don't have numbers to back that, it's not as hard hitting and it doesn't make me a very good candidate that's communicated the skills with the results. So instead of, I was responsible for social media, you want to be more explicit in saying, I grew Instagram engagement 38% over one semester. The next thing is relevant experience. So even if you didn't have a job in that, it doesn't mean that the skills or the experience that you learned isn't valuable. So internships, research, class projects, leadership roles, extracurricular things, just anything that's evidence that you've been able to apply your skills and also see you as more than just this specific title, but more as a whole individual contributor. So, for example, you could list a marketing analytics project where you analyze 10,000 customer records and you built a special dashboard. The next thing is having a clean, skimmable format. So recruiters are busy and they're looking at tons of resumes. So if they can't scan something in what I call kind of past a 5 second ADHD attention deficit span, then your resume is probably too busy and needs some formatting cleanup. So they want to have clear sections, short bullet points, consistent formatting, and one page. Now, if you're more senior, 2 to 3 pages is acceptable. I think two is the preferred format. But if you're brand new in your career, then you definitely want to stick to one page. You don't need more than that. Okay, so now before you dive into using AI, which is what this whole presentation is about, I need you to do a little bit of homework and gather some ingredients. So the first thing you're going to grab is your current resume. If you don't have one, that's totally fine. You're going to be able to build this from scratch. But if you are a junior candidate or a senior candidate or you're a VP type status, just grab your old resume. The second thing you want to grab is any courses or syllabus that you have, or syllabi that you have. Instead of trying to remember what you learned in these courses, just go grab the actual course description or the syllabus, and we're going to be able to use that to help build those skills so you don't have to remember or try to translate or decipher by yourself. The next thing is think about the major assignments and projects where you built, analyzed, presented, or solved something. So capstone projects, research papers, data analysis, just like anything that you are passionate about, excited about, did well with, enjoyed. Those are all great pieces to have, not only for your resume, but also talking points as you get further along in the interview process. The next thing is your leadership or life experience. So employers are caring about your initiative. They care about your responsibility. So any part-time job you've had, internship, campus organizations, volunteer work, athletics, any leadership role you had, that's all very, very relevant, especially if you don't have a lot of work experience. Those are going to be great resume builders and skill extractors for you to pull from. And then the last thing is to think about all the tools that you've used. So just taking out a piece of paper and brain dumping like all the tools that you have is totally fine. You can do that in any format, digital or paper. So before we jump into AI, let's talk about some of the mistakes to watch out for that if you don't have a good prompt and you don't know what to feed ChatGPT or another tool like Claude or any of them that are out there, it's very easy for AI to make these mistakes. So they'll have a pattern of making task lists. So they'll just say like attended meetings, help with projects, which these things describe what you did, but not the results that you got. So recruiters are looking to see what changed because of your involvement, and that's something that you need to prompt well, which we'll show you in a minute. The next thing is like buzzwords, dynamic self-starter, results-oriented team player. These things are on tons of resumes, but they don't say anything. There's no flavor, there's no personality, and it just becomes noise as recruiters are reading it. The last thing is responsible for. So this phrase is so overutilized, and it doesn't really tell the reader much. So we want to replace that verbiage with strong action verbs and a result. And the prompts that we're going to cover are going to help you do exactly that. All right, so let's jump into the how do I do it, Tanya? Okay, so step one, we're going to take your skills from your current resume and feed it this prompt. So you'll copy and paste this as it is, but basically you're telling AI to take a look at your current resume, analyze it for hard skills and tools, any transferable skills, and then any skills that were implied by the responsibilities that you already wrote. So an example would be, I'm responsible for managing social media for my campus organization. The output is that AI is going to identify the skills like social media management, content planning, audience engagement, analytics tracking, and then it's going to make an improved resume bullet that says managed Instagram account for campus organization, increasing engagement through scheduled content and performance tracking. And I would even add a little bit more if I had fed it results, it would say by 30% or whatever that is. So it's really important that as you're doing these inputs and these prompts with AI that you're giving it as much information as possible because if you don't have the results then AI isn't going to be able to just make those up for you, right? So a lot of the data points also have to come from you. And that's probably the most tedious part about this is trying to find that information. Okay, so number two, extracting the skills from your coursework. So instead of remembering what you learned, grabbing that coursework and that course description is going to be great. So Brad was gracious enough to share the catalog with me. So we'll send this deck out and you guys can have access to this and see all of the course descriptions that you can go and search for and have access to. So the prompt for this would be, here's the course description from one of my classes and the syllabus, if you have that. Identify practical skills, tools, and types of work this course prepared, and then convert it into resume ready skills and bullet points. So we took Brad's managerial communication course, fed it that document, and then it found that students were getting practical skills in professional business writing, persuasive presentations, workplace communication, active listening, nonverbal communication, conflict resolution, negotiations, cross-cultural communication, collaboration, and peer feedback. So then it takes that and it makes a beautiful resume bullets that tells you what they did. They delivered, they authored, they conducted, they participated, and all of these different um, facets of that class. Now, if I were to try to remember that from my comms class, I would have been like, I learned how to communicate. And that's all I probably would have done. Like, increase my communication skills by 50%. But, like, what does that actually mean, right? So, this is a great tool for extracting that and really putting into a storytelling or a narrative that now a recruiter can go like, oh, they're great at, they know how to do persuasive presentations. They can do business memos. They'll be great at being an executive assistant, or they would be a great account manager or whatever. And they can kind of see these skills and now apply them and think of them in a language that is more universal. Next thing is taking the skills from your projects and assignments. So feeding it a class project here. So the prompt is, here are relevant assignments I completed in my X course. You would fill in the X part, break down practical tasks, skills, and goals involved, then write 3 resume bullet points highlighting impact and abilities. Be sure to ask me any clarifying questions and ask me to provide specific data points where necessary. So I like adding this at the end of prompts because it helps the tool, the AI tool, remember that it doesn't have to make up everything and that it should be asking you questions and kind of walking you through a process and more like a coaching um, exercise to getting the output that you want versus it just trying to deliver. AI is very needy and wanting to please, eager to please you. So it's very important to be direct with AI and tell it exactly what you want. So don't be afraid to be bossy with it. And I think that's a great example and reminder for you. So, example of a class project. So I did a customer segmentation analysis for my business class. For the final project, I fed it the PDF and the grade I got on it, right? So seeing the feedback that I got from the professor was really great. By the way, I was also the group leader in my 5-person group. Ask me any follow-up questions that might be helpful. So from that prompt, that conversation, it identified that I had skills in data analysis, Excel modeling, identifying trends, and that I was also presenting leadership skills by leading that 5-member team. So through that exercise, it asked me a couple questions. It found out that there were 300 student responses that I was able to design and analyze, and that I identified trends using Excel analysis. These outputs aren't fantastic, if I'm being honest with you, but in the real world, in a real exercise, you would be able to have a discussion with AI, and it would pull these data points from you and create these resume bullet points that will be more specific with better data points. Okay, the next thing is, Tanya, I don't really have a lot of work experience. What do I do? So those of you who are just entering the job market or you haven't had a lot of like formal work experience where you were hired for something, that doesn't matter. So all of the experience that you're gaining with your clubs, your athletics, any sororities or fraternities, campus involvement, church involvement, just anything where you are doing something that isn't necessarily inside of the classroom that you want to extract is valuable resume content that you can put on your resume. So the prompt here is, here's an experience at X where I had responsibility responsibility, or leadership doing why. Identify the leadership, teamwork, budgeting, and problem-solving behaviors. Then rewrite this experience into resume bullet points showing actions, tools, and outcomes. Be sure to ask me any clarifying questions and to provide specific data points where necessary. Sometimes you're not going to have those because you just don't have that access, and that's okay, but I like to put that on here. So here's an example. I was the t-shirt sorority chair for my sorority. I designed t-shirts for 150 sorority sisters. I managed invoices, I negotiated vendor contracts, and I reduced the price of each t-shirt so that they had cheaper pricing and better quality t-shirts. Ask me any follow-up questions that might be helpful. So from that, AI identified she's great at negotiating with vendors. She can do budgeting and cost management. She does product design, project coordination, and supplier management. Also, I would probably have added like communication and conflict resolution because getting 150 sorority sisters to approve the same t-shirt design is quite a skill. So as you can see, there are transferable skills into the workforce that you might not even think about, and these are great exercises for that. So from that, the AI prompt generated these three bullet points that now read design and coordinated production of custom apparel for 150 sorority members, negotiated with vendors to reduce cost per shirt while improving material quality, managed order logistics, invoices, and vendor communications for a large group purchase. Hey, that's a girl I want to hire, right? Look at all that. It's not just a sorority t-shirt. Oh, you did a little something something for your organization. No, those are real skills that are very valuable to the workforce. And in addition, what you'll find is that recruiters and hiring managers will see some of these extracurricular activities and see themselves in it. Like, oh, I was in that sorority too. Oh, I was a college student volunteering for my church activities. I was an athlete doing this. I think we had somebody just pop in. Hello. So these are all relevant skills that I want you to see as valuable and definitely worth investing time into translating. Next and almost last thing is identifying the tools and skills. So this is pretty easy. You'll just grab all the skills and the tools that you've collected and tell it to organize it. So based on my resume, coursework, projects, experiences, you take steps 1 through 4 and feed it this prompt and ask it to identify tools and technologies, and then ask it follow-up questions to uncover additional tools, organize them into a resume skills section. So I previously fed it my marketing class, my research project, my internship, and then it said, oh, you know how to use Excel, Google Sheets, Canva, MailChimp, survey tools, and then data visualization. And then on my resume, I just had a little bar that has all of these tools that say that I'm proficient in them. Okay. Any questions in the chat so far? Feel free to drop anything as it comes to mind. So the final thing is you want to take all these things now that you've done and turn it into a skills-based resume. So now you've got your current resume, you've translated the coursework, you've told it major projects, you've told it about your leadership and your life experiences, and you've collected all the tools. So now this is showing a full picture of what you're capable of doing. The next step is to just feed it into AI to combine all of these things. So this prompt is a little bit more specific, and it's saying highlight the most relevant skills first, emphasize tools, analysis, problem solving, and leadership behaviors. Rewrite these bullet points to show action items, organize the resume so it's clear, concise, and easy to scan. Do not use M dashes. M dashes are the of AI. So being explicit and telling it not to use it unless it's absolutely necessary. Sometimes an M dash here and there is okay, but we really want to tell it to avoid that. And then ask me any relevant questions to help extract content and data. You take that, you put it in there, it's going to give you a beautiful resume that then you are going to look at with your own human eyes and scan it and think about if you are a recruiter, what does this look like to you? Are you a person you'd want to hire? Is there anything in it that you think could be improved, or did you forget a data point? So you want to look at it again. Don't just trust AI to do it for you. You want to use your human eyes and human brain to scan it and make sure it's good. And then give it to a friend and have them look at it as well. Or if you have um, um, somebody in the industry or a mentor or somebody a little bit more experienced than you, you can also send it to them and ask them for their opinion on it. It's always good to get more human eyes on it before you put a final touch on it. And then a bonus that I want to share with you is that once you've got your resume finalized and you're looking for a specific job and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my dream job, my dream company, feed AI the job description of the role that you want and ask it, revise my resume so it better reflects how my existing experiences and skills match the job requirements of this role. Do not add any new experiences or skills. Don't embellish or fabricate anything. Only reorganize to clarify the language to better align with the job description. If something needs clarification, ask me questions before rewriting it. So this will help AI take what you've got and translate it to the job that you want without adding anything extra. Sometimes when you do this, AI likes to really boost you up and all of a sudden say that you did all these things and you're like, no, I didn't. I didn't do any of that. So this is a great prompt for that. I will pause and I see there's a chat
Yeah,
question.
there's a question and answer.
Yeah.
So what if you don't have quantifiable numerical data for the outcomes, or if they're unknown to you? So how would you kind of use some of these things if you just don't have that? I did 50% or I gained 300, those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. And I think you can estimate on it. The only thing that I would say is whenever you're putting data behind something, and in this case, guesstimating is being able to explain that guesstimate. So a lot of the time, especially in my experience in startups, I started from zero and I knew that I improved it from zero to better, and that's at least 100% better, right? So I 2x'd it. If I did 50% better, I knew that it increased by 50%. So even being able to just guesstimate on it and then being able to explain that. So if a recruiter's like, oh, you said that you improved social media by 150%. How did you do that, Tanya? I'm able to explain, like, well, we started with zero and I got us to 150 followers. So I increased it. So just being able to back up your guesstimate, I think, is a good and reasonable um, benchmark for it. Sometimes you've just got to go back and think about it and do that kind of guesstimating math. Is that, I think there's another
That,
question.
yeah, no, that's all we had. There was one in the Q&A and that's all I have anyway, unless something came directly to you.
It says, do you have any tips for folks like myself who struggle with resume
Okay.
drafting due to imposter syndrome and feel that the output speaks too highly? Wow, that's a really great question. Or the brevity of the statements come out sounding a little too pompous. I think that you hit the nail on it, is that it's a due to imposter syndrome. And I would just encourage you to work on that confidence piece because that will show up in your interviewing skills as well. If this tool AI is looking at your experiences pretty much objectively, there's a little bit of bias in AI. If you look at some of the research, that it leans to want to please you, but most of the time it's giving you objective outputs and telling you these are the skills that you learned. And I think that with these particular prompts, you'll find that it's more skills based than talking about, some of your more soft skills or like personality. I think you just have to own it and be confident and empowered that the things that you learn are exactly what an employer wants and lean into that and leave all of the imposter syndrome stuff behind and knowing that everyone is also feeling a bit of that. Sometimes you look at things, you're like, oh, wow, I did that. Are you sure? And you're not the only one that's doing it. So I think my best advice is um, as Tanya would be to just ignore it and fake it till you make it a little bit, because eventually the more practice that you do, you'll actually have the confidence to back it, because that practice will show you that, yeah, I did do that. And other people seeing it and getting interviews will feed that confidence and reinforce that, like, yes, that I did do that. Go me. So I think it's just a little bit of a practice. That would be my best advice.
And maybe
Okay.
even sharing it with a mentor or a colleague saying, I mean, I'm sure they would agree with exactly what's on your paper or on your resume. And that would help kind of with your confidence and reassure that you actually can do those skills.
Yeah. All right. So now let's jump into this digital resumes that we've touched on a bit and explain what this all means. So this is a lot of words on a screen, but there's a lot of things happening in here, and I want to cover all of it with you. So there is a shift happening in hiring, and it's already happening. So the main challenge that we're seeing is that it's unfair right now that if you're honest about your skills, you might not get the job, okay? It's also unfair that if you didn't go to Harvard or an Ivy League school, you might be overlooked even though you have the skills. So, how do we solve that, right? And then the other problem is we've got all this AI slop that's occurring, and everybody now looks like to the point that was that Katie? Yeah, that Katie was saying is like now everybody has this great sounding resume and we all sound like geniuses. So there's a lot of problems here with trust, okay? And there's a new technology called digital credentials, which Brad and Stephanie touched on, which are from a bigger umbrella called learning and employment records. But if I'm being honest with you, a lot of the names and the nomenclature of this doesn't really matter. The same way that my Apple pay, like I don't really care how the technology works. I just like that when I use my Apple Pay phone and I go to pay, it gets paid and it's all secure, right? So and all the science nitty-gritty technology behind it, I leave to the Apple people. So for the sake of this conversation for you guys, I'm doing the same thing. So what you need to know about digital credentials is that this is a technology which allows employers and candidates to trust that what is on the resume is true. So to Katie's point, you don't have to worry about being imposter syndrome because all this stuff is now verified and everybody knows that it's true and reflective of your skills, right? So think clickable links to projects, certificates, and badges that carry way more weight than the bullet point alone. And like I said before, it's complicated, but what you need to know is that these portable records are coming and they're already here. And early adopters like you are going to have a clear advantage. So, unlike the PDF, this digital resume grows with you. You don't have to reprint it, there's no outdated versions of it floating around. Um, the reason that employers are caring about this is the rise in AI slop is really causing havoc in the market, combined with an under-skilled workforce. There's a lot of demand and emphasis in the government, in higher ed, in employment, in the private sector that we want skills. So as a society, we are really focusing on skills and not pedigree and all of these things because we've learned that now, especially with AI, you can't tell the difference between these things, and verified skills are the most important piece to being able to understand someone's ability to show up and perform on the job. So then that last thing is that employers want efficiency, right? So organizations spend tons of money on compliance and HR to make sure that what you have on the resume is actually true. And digital credentials are going to eliminate that cost immensely. So big box hiring companies are big box employers especially are loving this technology because of the money that it saves them and how it helps to prove that the candidates who are applying to these things actually know what they're doing. So, um, a hiring is definitely moving towards proof fast, right? So AI made these claims cheap, like I just said. So now any candidate can do this well, and recruiters know this. So they're becoming skeptical of this. And now proof is going to be the differentiator. So having verified credentials, your portfolio links, badges, and results is what's going to cut through the noise. And early movers are going to win. So most students don't have a digital portfolio yet, and getting ahead of this curve is going to be amazing. And it's going to put you in a distinct minority. So having a My Skills NMU profile is really going to help you do that. But you're probably like, Tanya, what the heck is NMU My Skills? So glad that
Well,
you asked
quick
because,
question. I got a question for you though,
yeah.
Tanya. This came in, which I think you kind of described on that last slide, but you can go into a little bit deeper. Do AI descriptions need to be rewritten to make AI detection more difficult? So is having an AI written resume, and it kind of looks like that, should you be rewriting everything? And my short answer would be no, because that's what you're using it for, is to get the correct wording. But make sure you have the backup skills to do it and the proof. So keep the words that AI has, but make sure you have the proof behind it.
Yeah.
So if you're saying if I have this skill, you better be ready to defend it because you don't want to get that job and not have that skill. Um,
Yeah. I would agree with that 100%. And that's actually a great plug for the next couple of webinars that we're doing if you're not registered already for them, because we're going to be talking about how you can be 1% better. And then the other piece too is how you can present your personality through the entire process. And I think that also helps differentiate you and make it so that you don't feel like you're just presenting what AI has written and it looks like everybody else. So in that third webinar, we're going to talk about that.
One more question.
Yeah.
Just to sum up the comments here, but is it one issue that most resumes don't even get it into the hands of a person and they're filtered by AI for keywords themselves? So you're using AI to create that resume and then AI is looking at it at the other end before a person can even look at it.
Yeah, that is happening. That some ATS systems, applicant tracking systems, have AI filters where they're looking for particular keywords before they advance your resume. But I think that's why having the prompt that we talked about here as the bonus when you're talking about a particular job that you want, then when you're taking your resume and the job description of the role that you want and pairing them together in this prompt, you're going to be eliminating that because the keywords are going to be brought in authentically based on your skills and that job description and pairing it together to avoid that. But again, HR is having a big issue with that problem exactly because AI is over filtering things that a human might have not made the same decision. So a lot of HR departments are eliminating those filters, and this is why the importance of LER is really becoming more prominent. Yeah, and in discrimination pieces too. The chat's kind of going off here. Okay, so back to the digital badges here. So you are on this call and you probably got an email saying that you've been recommended to be a part of this webinar series, or you might have also heard this from a friend or somebody else on campus, but the majority of you who registered for this call, you already have proof. Your university is awesome and cutting edge, and you guys already have these stackable badges and LERs. So let me just briefly explain that. Badges are portable digital signals that are very specific skills and, excuse me, that verify your specific skills and are awarded by institutions, employers, platforms. So, Coursera is a platform that issues badges as well of outside of like your employers or institutions like NMU. And then LERs are the bigger umbrella of verified records. Think, when right now you're having to go to the registrar's office and you have a transcript. Well, instead of having to go and get a copy of that and send it to your employer, employers would be able to see that, yes, you did actually graduate from that school and no longer need that transcript. Or if they want to see that, there's clickable ways of doing that. So that's the overarching theme of it. But essentially, LERs are going beyond your grades. They're documenting what you did and what you learned, not that just you showed up or that you enrolled, but they're really showcasing your whole learning journey. And then they're becoming increasingly requested by forward-thinking employers. So, there's something called Smart Resume, which is the backbone of what we're going to show you guys. And it's basically like a PDF resume, but for digital credentials. With it, you can share your verified credentials from your university, your certifications, your training. You can show proof. You can create a dynamic resume, and you can be discovered by employers as well. And it keeps your resume updated automatically as you learn and earn these credentials. So we are going to show you what that looks like. Because, lucky for you, instead of having to go and do Smart Resume all on your own, your school has partnered with them and they have it invested all for you in this one-stop platform to make sure that you can capture, organize, and share it. So NMU, My Skills at NMU and Smart Resume are allowing you to build a living profile, connect your coursework, and you can also generate a shareable Smart Resume as well as easily export it. So Brad is going to take it over from here and show you the beautiful NMU My Skills.
All right, let's see if this transition works.
Yeah.
I have to pick the right screen. All right, looks like it did work. So I'll put a link to this webpage in the chat. I just sent that out now. This is a page that kind of briefly describes what a micro-credential and badging is, talks about my skills and how we're using it at the institution today. But if you just kind of scroll down to the bottom, you can click here and say activate your My Skills. It'll bring you to the Smart Resume platform and sign in. You can fill out all this information and start creating your smart resume right now. But I logged into mine. Hopefully it's still there. Yep. So this is my smart resume that I filled out. And if you use your email address that you received a badge from Northern, I know some of you probably got the I'm gonna go look down. NMU Connected Leader badge. That was a training that HR did, and a lot of people have taken advantage of that across campus. Um, and I know there's some faculty here that might have done online teaching fellows. Those badges would be there waiting for you if you use the email address you receive those badges from. If you don't use the email address that you got the badge from, not a big deal. That can be imported through a tool here in the platform. Like I said, the Smart Resume is interoperable with a lot of different platforms. So you're able to use any email address that you did get a badge from and pull it in and migrate it into here. So your goal is to get 100% in your build score. So that means you have to put something in every category. That's going to be just your demographic information, a professional summary, education, experience, all the stuff that is on a normal resume. But the highlight here is you have these badges and verifiable skills, and I'll show you that here in a second. Um, and one key thing to remember about the badges that you have, the badging is kind of like the wild, wild west out there. You can get a badge for just showing up to something, for watching a short film, for a timeshare or things. So the badge isn't the skill or the micro credential. The badge is just the sticker to show that you did something. The information behind it in the metadata in the proof in any kind of uh, paper or a portfolio that you did can be attached to these as well. So when you click on it, employers will be able to see that actual data. So when you're kind of building your smart resume and your badges, you want to hide the ones that might not be relevant or be important because you certainly don't want to clutter your smart resume up with tons of badges for things that aren't relevant. So like this badge here that I have when we were testing the platform, we created a badge just absolutely just for testing the platform. And that's still out there. So you can hide that badge so it won't show up when an employer is scanning your smart resume profile. This was another one thing that I was learning about badging and how micro credentials are being used today. That really isn't relevant for most positions, so I went and did hide that. However, the other ones are, strategic doing practitioner, sustainable citizen, and really the NMU connected leader. Those are all things that were at some level assessed and prove that I have those skills that that the badge says I do. So I'll just show you a couple quick ways to share your resume. So you can do it a couple different ways. So you can do view my smart resume. This is what an employer is going to see once they click on your link or scan your QR code. It looks like a traditional resume. It has all your skills and abilities. But again, the best part of this here is the badges are verifiable. So you click on any given badge and it goes back to the institution or organization that issued that badge. And through the interoperability and the technology, some blockchain in there, I think, is really verifying and making sure that link that they connected or clicked on is connected to the institution. They can make sure that you got the badge and it isn't expired. There are micro credentials and badging that do expire on skills that you need to renew on a regular basis. But then you can also go back to the issuer's website and or even the credential itself. So you click on the link and it brings you to the badge and shows you the metadata behind it. So you can see all the skills that a person had acquired during that particular training or experience. And then I'm going to go back to share. So let's close this out. Um, let's say run. So share my resume with a link. Maybe because I'm sharing, it won't do that. I bet you it won't. But anyway, either way, at this point, it pops up with a QR code and a link. I think it's because I'm sharing my screen at the moment. It's telling me not to show you the link and the QR codes. Um, but then the other version is to download a PDF. And you click on the download PDF, it puts it into an actual PDF format. And you can see that there and it turns it into a traditional paper resume format. Here would be the QR code that other middle share button didn't show you. So you would be able to grab that QR code, put that on little business cards or anything, or other brochures that you might think are beneficial to you to hand out at any kind of employer engagement opportunity. And I think we have a question in the chat. Let me yeah, you can reach out, Katie, and we can kind of figure that out. If you already had a smart resume and you wanted to switch it over or make sure you can get in, we can get you there.
Cool.
And anything else, Tanya, that
No,
I
that was
am
great.
missing?
That was
Okay.
awesome. I just wanted to add some excitement to this because Brad is in this day in and day
I
out, but
am.
I really want the attendance of this webinar to really understand how freaking cool that is. Like the fact that you can click that and see that and verify it and see a whole thing. Like this is very, very cool. And the entire industry is adopting this, and this is gonna to a lot of the points that were made in the chat is like, how do I know that this is all true? And it's not just AI making this pompous assumption about my skills. It's like, well, now it's not pompous. It's verified and real, and you can click it and you can see it, and it's all right here. So this is very, very exciting stuff. You guys are very, very lucky to have a university that is doing this kind of investment in you and showcasing this and really putting you guys at the forefront. So please, please, please take advantage of this. Brad, if you're ready, I'll share my screen
Yeah.
back.
While we're, I think, can you just click share and I think you can grab it from me.
Yeah.
Um, and I know there's some higher ed folks on this, and for a higher ed speak and is things like that are at the national level, like Workforce Pell, and the way states are getting national dollars and grants coming down from uh, the national level down to the states, that Workforce Pell and showing these competencies is proof that institutions are teaching what they should be and students are getting jobs from those skills. So connecting your smart resume to your skills that you learned at any institution or organization really is benefiting the whole line because there are dollars right from the federal coffers down to the states into the hands of people looking for jobs themselves. So there's a couple of states that are doing this statewide, and institutions really have um, very little choice to join things like this. So this is the wave of the future, as Tony is saying.
Yeah. So, as we're kind of wrapping up here, here's my ask of you. I need you to go and sign up for your My Skills at NMU account. And what's the best URL for them to do that?
It'd be NMU. I'll have to put it in the chat because
Okay. Well,
it's
you're
a
all
little
going
bit
to get
long.
an email
Yep.
after this with this webinar, but my ask is this, and I'm going to give you something in exchange for going and signing up for your Smart Resume today. So when you sign up for Smart Resume, you're going to get this AI prompt worksheet. So you're going to get all of the prompts here and some extra ones that you can just copy and paste and go and do this homework today. But in order to get this cute little worksheet, you're going to have to go sign up for your Smart Resume. And we're throwing in a little bonus too. You're gonna get your name in a raffle drawing for a bunch of NMU swag that Brad and Stephanie, I think, are stashing somewhere under their desks. I can't see it right now, but so that's a double whammy. So the number one thing, if you found this exciting and useful, and you want this worksheet so that you can go and make your skills forward resume, I need you to go sign up for the Smart Resume NMU My Skills profile and get that done today. So that's the ask of me if you want to help support what's going on this webinar and get this worksheet. That's what we're asking you to do. Um, Basically, why you should care about this is that you're going to be scrambling less when you're using a digital resume. You don't need to update it right before, you're applying for a job. Your profile is going to continuously grow. You're going to get more confidence because you know that you've documented the proof when you walk into interviews. It's going to be easier for employers to trust, right? Because you're removing the doubt from the skills that you're claiming, and you're actually demonstrating it with real evidence, with these credentials. And you're also ahead of the curve. You're already ready for what's coming. This hiring landscape is going to keep shifting and evolving, and portable skills and verified skills are really going to position you to be ahead of everybody and be a ideal candidate. So, thanks so much for attending. Hope this was helpful. If you guys need help, here are some next steps for you. So, Career Services is available for you guys to use. Drop in, schedule a one-on-one with them. You can get more personalized feedback there. You can do mock interviews. If you need support with the My Skills at NMU, go ahead and email Brad and Stephanie, who are going to be helping you at myskills at NMU. .edu. You can ask some more questions. We'll probably stay on a couple more minutes. If you guys want to drop anything in the chat, we can do that as well. And then we invite you to register and sign up for the next two webinars that we have. So on April 2nd, we're doing 1% Edge, these small things that help get you hired that are going to be above and beyond, and kind of just separate you from the rest of the candidates. So showing you all these little 1% things that put you above, but when they compound, they end up really having this compound effect that sets you apart. And then on April 7th, we're going to be doing from resume to interview, how you can stand out by being you. So it's really how you throw your personality in the mix and the entire hiring cycle, and how to translate that into a compelling story that's not just the skills, but really putting in your whole personality into the entire hiring process. So those are all going to be available for download as well, so you can see those if you miss it. We encourage you to register anyway, so that way you get the recording at the end of it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. Hopefully this was helpful to you and all of these prompts. Don't forget to look out for the email that we'll have for you guys with the recording of this and how to get the AI prompt worksheet that we created. So thank you so much. If you have some more questions or comments, we can stay behind and answer your questions for the chat.
I put a couple links in the chat. So one to the My Skills for the webinar to sign up for the next two. And then Skills Path will tell you a little bit more about digital credentials and how to sign up for your Smart Resume.
And also,
Yeah,
if you did get a digital badge through NMU, it comes from an email from Credly. So if you're kind of thinking, I think I did do something that I should have got a badge and I didn't, you can search your emails for an email from Credly, or
Good
reach
point.
out to Brad or myself and we can get that issued to you.
yeah. And then for anybody who's just listening right now, not looking at the screen, or not for the chat, the URL to get to the webinar and landing page is nmu.edu/extended learning/my skills. And that's got all of the webinar information. And that's where you can see the recordings and things like that in the future. So we invite you to do that. And we will hopefully see you on April 2nd and April 7th for the next two webinars.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to stop recording.
Alrighty.